So I'm going to dive into today's episode, and joining me is the first time on Vancouver Real we've ever had a master herbalist. Excuse me. I went right back to, I don't say the H. Master herbalist is Klaus Ferlow. Klaus, first of all, welcome to the show. Welcome to Vancouver Real.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And you've basically been in herbalism and working as an herbalist, it seems like your whole career, a long time now, and you are at the level of a master herbalist. And so we've never had a herbalist on, and maybe some people don't even know what herbalism is. And so before we get into your background with herbology, can you maybe just start off really basically, what is herbalism and herbs, and what are they, and what does that even mean?
A herbalist and herbalism means that all these plants that grow on Mother Earth that somebody gave us to us can be used, and the vast majority of them, if used properly, either as a herb like as a tea or in personal care products and cosmetics and so on, they are safe, which means we are very fortunate that in different countries, like for example here in Canada, different herbs are growing completely different, like in India or in Europe. And I brought a book with me. It's called Indian Herbology of North America. That was published the first time in 1969. And in this book there are over 300 herbs listed, the medicinal part and the effectiveness and how to use it properly. And this is how I started actually 24 years ago studying in this book, and I got totally excited about it.
And so what excited you? What was it that really called you to this profession?
What really excited me was that when you use any kind of herbs in different forms, it is safe, number one, and it's good for your body, because we as human beings should try as much as possible stay away from chemicals that you find in the air and the water and the food, and even in prescription drugs.
Okay. And so you saw like this is just an alternative way to treat some of the things that you saw were maybe being treated, quote, synthetically with natural things, and that really inspired you.
Absolutely. I'll give you one example. If you have some stomach problems, the best thing what you could do is drink herbal chamomile tea and eat nothing else for a few hours, and within half a day your problems will go away.
Yeah, and that's interesting too, is like you're just a little more background on you. You're an educator, you're an author, you've done lots of publications, you've written a couple books as well, and exploring herbology and nutrition, and something that I think people we're always taught when we're sick, you need to keep your energy up and keep your strength up. So that, mothers would encourage you to eat. But sometimes the best thing to do is to not eat. Would you agree with that?
That's correct too. A lot of people, I think, believe, and I believe it too, that one of the things might be good for you fast, for example, 1 day a week. Just drink good water, of course, chlorine-free water, and your body will really tell you, okay, do it again.
Right, yeah. So it's I think maybe counterintuitive at some levels to like, okay, just take a break from everything and let your body clear out whatever sort of imbalance it's experiencing, right? Whether it's a digestion thing or a cold or a flu or whatever, right? Like let the body do its healing work versus making it do digestion work, I guess, right?
I give you a few examples. For example, when a cold is coming, from my own experience, my mother gave me pure elderberry juice, then add lemon juice and a little bit of honey, heat it up. You drink a couple of cups, and then you go to bed, and you get a scar on your chest and so on, and the next morning your fever is gone.
Interesting. Wow.
And this is a natural thing that basically these elderberry pushes basically the poisons in your body out of the body, and that's why you sweat it out there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I mean, you never missed the school day in school when I was growing up as a kid.
Oh, and that's, I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but no, ultimately that is a good thing. But okay, so that's kind of neat. So your mother was into different herbalism and those types of treatments, eh? So perhaps this passion was kind of instilled in you. I guess you saw its effectiveness a long time ago then.
Actually, it started even with my grandmother. My grandmother had a farm, and she showed me as a little young boy what, for example, dandelion does. When you use dandelion, the fresh leaves in salads and so on is blood purifying. It's good for your kidneys. It's good for the liver there.
I've heard that.
Comfrey leaves, when even the animals had some injuries on the legs, just she wrapped the leaf around the legs with a string attached, and basically within days you could see the healing process.
Wow, amazing stuff. So that's the thing, like nature does have this pharmacopoeia that we can tap into, and obviously indigenous cultures have, and more farming cultures have always been aware of like herbology and these medicines that just grow naturally and what they're used for. And why do you think that knowledge, or what happened that it's kind of become more distant? What do you believe that is? And yeah, share your thoughts on that. I'm curious.
I think what happened is in my book, Neem, Nature's Healing Gift to Humanity, I list the comment of Dr. Carol Dean. She is a very well-known, famous medical doctor, also a naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist and herbalist. And she, in many of her books, she said that the oldest medical system is traditional medicine. And it's therefore when people use it, they see the effectiveness. However, herbs don't work like prescription drugs. I mean, when you have a problem, it might take a while till you see some minor improvement. So people should be patient and don't expect that this will work overnight.
Okay, I think that's a really good point, because you're right. Like people, I don't know for what reason we expect instant results, or like, some people naturally have a skepticism. Well, I wouldn't say naturally have it, but they are skeptical when they think of herbs and natural supplements, and like, people don't want to be duped. They don't want to be, sold a bill of goods and not have something. But there is something to having patience with that these medicines work differently.
Yeah, I mean, in the 1900s, when the medical profession in North America had serious problems, and people like Carnegie and Rockefeller got involved in that. They got on the board, they donated a huge amount of money, and then of course they started to look at all these colleges that homeopathy was all over North America. They told them, join us, and then once they joined us, they squashed them, and then the system was developed that they wanted to have prescription drugs that they get patents on it. And then they develop specialists for like the lung specialist, the heart specialist, the stomach specialist, and so on.
Right.
And in the herbal business, when you look at naturopathic doctors, you look at traditional Chinese medicine, you look at native medicine, they always treat the whole body.
Right.
And they treat not the symptoms, but they try to find out what the cause is and treat the cause of the problem.
And that could be very well speaking to more of this, the fact that things might take a little bit longer, because I think a lot of our medicines go and aggressively treat symptoms.
Yes.
Right? So you see like this immediate change, but it's just because the symptoms are being, addressed, whether it's like decongestant or sore throat or whatever it is, right? But it's not really going to do the deeper work of where these symptoms are manifesting from. So,
especially when you look at pain, I mean, when you use prescription pills, they numb basically the nerves, and then you feel much better. But it usually comes back with a vengeance, and then you might have to use 2 pills or 3 pills. Now, when you use a herbal product, for example, It's a funny name. It's called Devil's Claw cream.
I've heard of it, yes. Devil's Claw.
It's like grows only in South Africa. And as you know, in these countries they have hot temperature, but they also have cold temperatures at night.
Right.
So then they get arthritis and they get rheumatism and so on. And this herb was used for millennium, and we use it in one of our creams. And my own mother, she developed in the late 80s severe arthritis in her fingers. She couldn't straighten them out anymore, and she couldn't sleep, and at night she had to put her hands in cold water. And when I gave her the first samples of our Devil's Claw cream, she couldn't believe it. She puts it on before she goes to bed, and she had no problems to sleep properly.
Wow.
And she thanked me, and I said, thank somebody else, because somebody gave it to us.
Right, yeah. And that's the thing too, like these ultimately it's like you just thank good old Mother Earth for giving us, this, like they said, this pharmacopoeia of options, and bringing back to the question of like the fact that we've become disconnected from this pharmacopoeia, and so people like yourself who have found this wealth of knowledge and are actively practicing it and educating people is it's pretty cool, because there are other options, right?
You see, there's even we are disconnected ourselves, our body, from Mother Earth, because Mother Earth offers healing power. And I remember when I was growing up as a kid in northern Germany, all summer long we were barefoot, and that means you are connected to Mother Earth, and we never got sick.
Right.
Most of the time.
Right.
And only a little cold or this, but not really any serious health problems.
Right. And so why do you think that is? I think like just having your feet on the ground,
Yes.
Getting on the grass or the dirt and the water and the sand, the beach. What about that connection in your mind is like so nurturing?
Because, as you know, the soles of our feet, they are very sensitive. You have all the nerves there.
Right.
And when you connect with Mother Earth, I think it inherits the whole system there, and you feel comfortable. Besides, you move a lot. I mean, you run around. You are playing soccer and football and handball and volleyball and all these activities. And so, therefore, your body is constantly in move, and your bones, when you are young, you have to exercise a lot. The bones are growing. And fortunately, with my now 79 years young, I've never been in a hospital one day overnight, so I must have done something right.
I think so. You're on a good track for sure. And so, in terms of your professional life, getting into herbalism, where did that get started, and what have you done so far? Like, what's been your big life's what your work? What has been your work? What is your body of work?
The most important thing that happened to me was when I was 17 and moved away from a small village to a big city for apprenticeship. I developed severe psoriasis. That was so bad I had pitch black hair that I couldn't comb my hair anymore. And over 40 years I had treatments to the medical profession, allopathic medicine, and no help. So as of today, no profession knows the cause of psoriasis. But I was told I have to live with this for the rest of my life. And when somebody tells me this, I don't agree with it. So I was very, very fortunate that beginning of 1994, David Suzuki on The Nature of Things had a video, What's in a Neem? At that time, I had no idea that the tree was existing. The neem tree is originally from Burma and India, and is one of the oldest trees, I think close to 4,500 years. Part of Ayurveda, which is again the oldest, most botanical, successful medical system in the world.
Yep.
And so when he on this video, which I later on bought, which cost me $135 in 1994. I could not believe what he told there. He said, this tree has healing power, diverse healing power, inclusive for chronic skin diseases. Now I ask myself, what can be more chronic than psoriasis?
Right.
And so with the help of a German chemist, a friend of us, we started to develop a herbal cream, which is a Neem cream.
Yep.
And my wife put this cream on my scalp for 9 weeks, and beginning of the 10th week, all this build-up came up, because usually the skin regenerates in once a month.
Okay.
If you go, let's say, for a long shower or go in the bathtub, you can rubble off the old skin. Underneath is already new skin.
Right.
Now with psoriasis, it goes 7 to 8 times faster. That's why these build-up occurs.
Okay.
And so I could not believe it, because now after 40 years I had a clean scalp there. And I asked myself, being also in business all my life, there must be millions of people who have this problem. And this is how we got involved in this. And of course, people don't want to put a cream on the scalp, so shortly after that we developed the shampoo and the Neem conditioner.
Right.
And by using it on a regular basis, I have no psoriasis. However, I never talk about cure.
Right.
You've got to be very careful when you look at Health Canada.
Right.
I talk about I alleviate the problem, and I am in charge of my health and of my body.
Right. It's a very important point, that we are responsible ultimately, right? Versus putting that responsibility, say, into a medical doctor. Now, obviously, if we need their support or their help, we can go there and ask for that. But I think that's something where part of our culture has been infantilized, treated like children, that, oh, my health is not my responsibility. Have the hospital and the doctors take care of me, and I'll, do what they say. And it's not that they can't obviously help, but the responsibility, I believe, as well, relies on each individual ultimately, right? Like, we need to grow up and take true responsibility.
This is why the saying goes, you are what you eat. I mean, it starts first with proper nutrition there. And if you put proper products into your body there, then of course the results will be that you become a healthy person. And of course exercise and optimism. I mean, I've been an optimist all my life, because you solve problems easier when you're an optimist.
Right. Yeah. And then it creates just a better state of mind to be operating from too. You probably get more creativity when you're optimism, more insight, and are able to get into just more creative states that will ultimately help you with whatever circumstance you're facing, right?
And one word about the Neem products, of course, these tree basically is one of the most researched tree in the world.
Neem? The Neem
and
tree?
They find out new components all the time. Actually, when I was in India in 2012 at the Neem conference, talking about my problem with psoriasis, I found out that they do huge research also for cancer, and they're getting closer and closer to finding answers.
Wow.
So, and besides that, I mean, Neem is so versatile that when you look at the tree, I have a wonderful poster there that's called The Life of Neem. I mean, every part of that tree is medicinal. Flowers, barks, twigs. The twigs, for example, from the little branches there, they use in India, the poor people, as a toothbrush. And you notice probably when you look at East Indian people that they have plain white teeth. That's one of the reasons.
Really? So like you'll use the twigs and brush your teeth?
Yes.
Scrape off that bacteria, and then there's probably medicinal properties that help keep it cleaner, longer, antimicrobial perhaps, or something like that.
But most of the important thing is, I have one book from Professor Dr. Schmutter, a German entomologist and scientist. He rediscovered basically Neem in 1959 when he was in Sudan, and a swarm of locusts came and cleaned everything up. They landed on the Neem tree and didn't touch it. So he started then to have in Germany He worked with an institute of pathology and in the Justus Liebig University with several researchers there, and he published his third book in 1995, The Neem Tree, of 700 pages, mainly focusing on the agricultural industry for non-toxic pesticides spray. Non-toxic.
Right.
In 2002, his second book came out. He worked with 50 academics from around the globe, 893 pages. And I also met him in 2015 when I visited him in Germany. And he is like an encyclopedia about Neem.
Wow, very
This
cool.
was not an Indian Ayurvedic doctor that rediscovered the healing power and the benefits of Neem. It was a German professor.
Very interesting. Wow. And just through observing the whole locust storm, not even nibbling on it, huh?
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. So I assume these trees, being from Burma and India, can't be cultivated in North America then.
Yes, it's a little bit, there's a company in Brandon, Florida that has a neem tree farm.
Oh, cool.
But this is unique in a way because that lady started already in 1992. But this tree grows only in tropical and subtropical countries. It can take up to 54 degrees Celsius.
Wow. So very robust.
And it needs very little moisture and water there. So it can even, they do plant it even in the Middle East, in the desert and so on.
It's so interesting how there's some plants that just have these like multiple uses. Like another one that pops to my mind, obviously, and maybe a little bit more, miseducated upon it would be, say, cannabis. How it's finding like lots of different purposes, from the seeds, which are very nutritionally dense, hemp hearts and things like that, to juicing cannabis leaves, to the oils that are produced, and even the hemp stalk and the fabric that can be used for manufacturing and things like that. You know, like there's certain plants that just like are just absolutely incredible things that can just add huge benefits to humanity, really. You know.
And as you know, in many countries, malaria is a huge health problem. And even there, the testing and the clinical tests that they have done with Neem has tremendous positive results here, even HIV.
Wow. Ooh. Yeah,
So this tree is a miracle in a way, and more things will be discovered because more studies are done.
Right.
And my position is that I want to protect and promote the benefits and the healing power of this neem tree, because most people, unfortunately, in North America don't know much about this tree.
And I read that before. Why? What do you mean by protect? What needs to be protected?
Protecting in a way because the big multi-billion-dollar companies, I mean, they're jumping on the bandwagon, and they tried approximately 12 years ago to basically get a patent on producing a neem spray and using the name also Neem in the patent.
Okay.
And they got the patent from the European office there, but the Indian government, together with farming communities from all over out east and southeast Asia, fought it, and finally this patent was revoked.
Oh, that's good. Okay. So, yeah, so protecting it from being hyper commercialized.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, and that's the thing. I imagine that's something that has to happen. But I mean, imagine people didn't take notice of that, and that company was able to keep that patent. And I'd imagine if they were able to kind of do that for a long period of time, that it'd just make it more difficult for that patent to be overruled.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, when you have the proof of like thousands of years of cultural Ayurvedic usage, it probably eventually will get overturned. But yeah, if it was missed, it would probably be a bigger problem than it was. But
it's very interesting also that in India and China becomes also a neem powerhouse, especially in the agricultural business, that more and more farmers switching over from non-pest to non-pesticides, because these toxic pesticides that have been used for ages, killing not only the plants and bees, but also the soil.
Right. Yeah. Right. And because like the soil is largely made up of organisms,
Yes.
bacteria and fungi and life. Like that's the whole like permaculture thing is like having living, active soils that are like they're all about like making sure the soil is alive and well nourished, right? And if you go and kill all life or certain forms of it, then you're just gonna have this dead soil that then you have to add artificial fertilizers to, and then that kind of just creates these like concentrated soups of nitrogen, and it gets washed away, and it just creates more problems. So you got to have systems that integrate with the natural harmony states of Mother Earth, of the environment, right? So I think that's a huge property of what you're discussing with the neem plant here.
I think the time is now that the change will come step by step, because also the public at large demands it, and people don't want to eat fruits and vegetables that are sprayed up to 23 times with chemicals from the beginning when the blossoms start.
Right.
And people realize, and when you look at especially cancer is worldwide now an epidemic, and you have to ask yourself, what is the reason for that? What is the cause?
And it's probably multifactorial, right?
Yes.
It's probably the way we live. It's probably how we eat. It's probably like so many things. But you're right. It's probably all contributing in different ways, because cancer is basically when it's a cell that's out of control, but your nervous system isn't functioning properly, or your immune system isn't functioning properly to destroy it, and then it gets out of control almost, I guess, right?
Yeah, the forecast is, especially with cancer, 1 and 2 in their lifetime will have cancer. And that's devastating. And I think the research, especially with the neem tree, will show in the very future. I know a medical doctor from Portugal, Dr. Morgado, he has his team in Europe as well. He works with a team in India. They're getting closer and closer for certain kind of cancers, but he tells me, don't talk too much about it, because it's still in the developing stage, but it will come.
Right, and it's true, and that's a sensible thing to do, because it is such a very sensitive topic, right? Like you can't start making huge claims like, oh, it's going to cure cancers. No. You just can't say that kind of stuff right now. You know what I mean? And maybe one day we can get to that stage where if you do things that can be said, but you're right. But at least this research is happening. So it sounds like you're very involved with keeping your finger on the pulse of the research, and with the neem and the neem tree, and then also just different herbs in general. But the research seems very important to you.
The other thing is too that there is a Neem Foundation that was established, I think, in 1993 in India, in Mumbai. But there were mainly scientists and researchers involved. And the problem is that some of these people, they don't have really marketing skills. How to promote the healing power of this incredible tree. So therefore, finally, this year, a new World Neem Organization was established from 14 core founding members, and I'm part of it. I represent North America, Germany, United Kingdom, and the Scandinavian countries. And what our purpose is that we want to educate, promote, and market the healing power of neem worldwide, so that people understand. And when you put the neem, just the name neem tree, into the internet, you see pages and pages and pages. When I started 24 years ago to do the research, there was nothing there. In North America and the States, all the main manufacturers of supplies to people who make products like us did not even know what neem is all about, never heard about it.
Okay.
So the United States is so far behind when it comes to health problems,
Right.
because all the big manufacturers are, the pharmaceutical manufacturers, they are in the States, and they push their products.
Right. And so like you've created, you have your different products that you started to formulate and things like that. So is neem one of your most important ones that you're working with, or is that the only one you're working with?
No, we have close to 100 different herbal products.
Mm-hmm.
But the Neem line, the 8 different Neem products that we have, the cream, the shampoo, the lotion, the soap, blended Neem oil, and toothpaste, are the top selling since 1994. And the reason for that is that I'm shocked myself sometimes. We get still calls from individual consumers, and they tell us they've tried everything else, and once they used our products, they had no allergic reactions. The reason for that is in 2000 and 2001, 2006, and so on, I published articles about the dangers of toxic chemicals in cosmetics and personal care products.
Okay.
And statistically, there are still in North America over 10,000 of these harmful, dangerous, toxic chemicals in products. And people don't understand because when you use a product, and some women use up to 10 products on their skin, which is the largest organ of your body, it is absorbed into your bloodstream, which means it goes into your kidneys, it goes into your liver, and sooner or later you create other health problems, and then unfortunately a large portion of the population will then go to the doctor and get their pills. And this is not the answer, basically,
Right.
because but the problem was also there were no rules and regulations, and now there are rules and regulations what we can put on the labels here. But we were very restricted also by Health Canada what we can mention on each label
Okay. For your product.
for herbal products.
Oh, okay. Why? What kind of things are they restricting you on?
Because I remember that we had on our website that Neem works as an insect repellent.
Okay.
And we received a call from Health Canada, we have to take it off from the website. And I explained to the lady that this is based on the history of Neem of over 5,000 years, and they have used it in South Asian countries since millennium. And the answer was, I don't care, you have to take it off from your website.
And they basically are the same because there's no modern research papers showing that?
This is one of the things that makes me a little bit angry when I hear the talk about there's no scientific proof.
Right. Right. No, I hear you on that. There's, I mean, even, talking about flotation therapy, it's a huge education process that we have to go through, and obviously when you look back historically of all the things of why people have gone into sensory reduced environments, what they're for, we're always still met with a skeptical eye. People, and even like with. I thought would be very open people like naturopathic medicine practitioners, Chinese medicine practitioners, let alone medical doctors. It's funny how I believe sometimes people's own biases and own issues and fears will block them from just looking at something objectively. People are too attached to, they'll put their lens, their filter over something. And if it doesn't jive with their lens and filter, then all of a sudden it's not worth talking about,
But I'm very optimistic because in the last several years, there's a movement to the direction of clinics with integrated medicine, which means that practitioners, whether it's a chiropractor, not yet a medical doctor, but young medical doctors, I have talked to many of them who have just graduated from school, and I asked them, how much they learned about nutrition, and they said almost nothing.
Right.
But
right.
the time is changing, and
Yes.
I think in
It is
integrated
changing.
clinic where you have a chiropractor, where you have a kinesiologist, a naturopathic doctor, a Chinese doctor, an acupuncturist, massage people, this is for the benefits of the patient. Once a patient goes into this clinic there, he can be treated that he doesn't have to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I think the time will come in the near future that even young medical doctors learn more about herbs and even other healing properties like Ayurveda and so on. And the patient is the one that benefits from all of this.
Absolutely. And actually, on note of that change, one of our newest locations coming in Abbotsford, the owner of that center of Float House there is he's a surgeon. He's a medical doctor, surgeon, and he started floating and found how beneficial it was for him. And, he didn't need to see the research, even though there is research with floating. But he just knew, like, no, this is good for people. And actually so much so that, he wanted to get involved. So I think that's a very exciting, like you said, times are changing and people are shifting, and who knows in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, what our healthcare system will look like and much more holistic. It will definitely be much more holistic, which I think is a good thing.
And most people know also that the money that each government, provincial governments, federal government spends on healthcare is enormous. I mean, it's
crazy.
growing rapidly, and we are getting to it's not sustainable
Right.
long term.
Totally.
So therefore, I think naturopathic doctors and even Chinese doctors and so on, they have to work in the hospital one day.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I think there's so much money being lost in different areas of our healthcare system, and it's a huge problem. I think it weakens us as a nation. It weakens us economically. And ultimately weakens us as people, because we have things being used and resources being supplied that aren't as efficient as they can be. And unfortunately, with a lot of bureaucracy and things like that, things take a lot of time to change. Like, even though we know now this is better than this, to make that become the new regulation or something, it takes a long time. It has to go through a lot of people, and some people, like, you'll get into these, like you said, with the insect repellent, you get into these blocks of like, wow, we're not going to be able to like make this a reality until maybe like a whole generation passes through or something. Yes. You just need that. So I don't know, it's a challenge of patience for sure.
And interesting also, the United Nations declared the Neem tree as a tree of the 21st century. And I mean, I wrote an article just recently about what are the benefits to have Neem trees. What are the benefits of a tree? And most people look at a tree and say, okay, they make 2x4s from it or whatever. But without these trees, we wouldn't be able to live because they are creating oxygen and so on. And we are cutting in the Amazon forest down there for quality furniture and so on all over the world. And it seems that people don't realize that this is a lung that we are cutting. And
right.
When less oxygen is available, what can this mean long term for health problems?
I agree. And that's the thing, like, this is where, if nations want to be ruled by governments need to really take a strong look at what they're implementing and what they're allowing. We live in a crazy little web of a society, global society now, where economic forces are at play. People's livelihoods are at play because of these economic forces. And it's extremely interconnected. And unfortunately, it got to this scale so fast. Within 100 years, it just, exponentially increased from 1 billion people or 2 billion people up to like 7-8 billion people now in 100 years. Like, that's no wonder we're playing kind of catch up now. And it's a challenge that we have to conquer as a species.
Almost like a Russian roulette there, it's
right.
It goes in the wrong direction, and people in the beginning, as we said, like, they should be responsible first for their own health and their body. And when something goes wrong, educate yourself, find out first. I mean, there's so much information out there that before you decide to go to a doctor and get some prescription pills. And of course, we need medical doctors, we need naturopathic doctors, but again, we need all these people working together as a unit, as a team.
Right, absolutely. And I kind of want to ask you a little bit, because like you, as you mentioned, you're 79 years young, and you have a lot of experience, and so I think it's important that we have this platform and can use this platform to tap into some of your experiences, some of your wisdom. So, like, what sorts of things in your life have you found in terms of maybe personal habits, ethics or morals? Like, what things have been really serving for you throughout your life to bring you to where you are as a successful entrepreneur, a healthy man, a writer, an educator, just, and you can take this wherever you want. I want to kind of just lay it out openly where you'd like to share with us.
The most important part of my success is my lovely wife, because we are happily married for 54 years, and we always worked as a team. It starts with good nutrition, and the other most important thing is that when you have your breakfast, when you have your lunch, and when you have your dinner, you should always have it at the same time, exactly the same time, in a relaxed atmosphere. Not while you're driving, in one hand the coffee, in the other hand your pizza there. This is what people don't understand. Long term, you create huge problems. When you once, the interesting thing is when people reach, let's say, mid-60s, most of them have serious health problems. Why? Because in their early ages, they didn't have the proper lifestyle. They didn't have the proper nutrition. They didn't have enough exercise either. And so these combination can be very deadly, because then later on they become a burden to the society, because prescription stuff is rampant, and it's too late for them to change lifestyle or nutrition.
Right.
When you look at obesity, for example, here in North America, when I came 42 years to Canada, and was the first time I was at a show in the States, I couldn't believe it. I mean, these people are just unbelievable obese there. Now in Canada, now even in Europe. We tell people the North American way of lifestyle and living and eating habits has conquered now Europe too. Believe me.
Right.
The people are overweight. They just follow the same pattern, because you have a McDonald's and the Burger Kings and whatever on every corner there. And we, 98.5%, I would say, of our time we eat at home. Homemade stuff. We buy things at the local farms there, certified organic. You pay a little bit more, but if you don't want to put any chemicals into their system there, they don't belong there.
Right. Interesting. I want to go back to you. The first thing you mentioned was your relationship, and that. What about having that partnership, that relationship, is just so important? You said you work as a team, and why did you mention that first? Why first?
Because I think I, as a single person, I tell people I'm nothing. In the team, I am somebody. And when you work together with a person that believes in you, and as I mentioned in my lectures, I use the phrase, you can achieve anything you want in life if you have the courage to dream it, the intelligence to make a real plan, the will to see that plan to the end, and to help others to achieve their dreams. And that is what's all about. Everything starts with a dream. But when you have a person, a partner beside you that supports you, that trusts you, how can you go wrong?
Right. Yeah. And keep you accountable and honest.
Yes.
And communicating and sharing and feeling. Yeah, that's like,
My lovely wife tells me over the years, occasionally, she says, I have two problems. And I said, what are the problems? I'm not an alcoholic, I don't smoke, and I don't chase women. What's the problem? You're too honest. I said, my dear, you wanted I change now. It's too late. What's the other one? You talk too much. So I said, I have been in sales, marketing, and promotion for 62 years. I have to talk to people.
That's right. It's built in you, eh?
So that's built in you.
Yeah.
And I love the connection with people. And the interesting things, I should mention that I connected with one of the visionaries, I would call him, Dr. Arun Garg. He is basically born in in India, and he is the head of Fraser Health. He is a biochemistry laboratory pathology in the new Westminster Royal Columbian Hospital. And when I talked to him for the first time, now I've met him many times, and we work together now to promote Neem in the future. He said, are you telling me that a German-born Canadian has done research for 24 years about the Neem tree from India? I said, yes. How come that I never came across you? I said, because our products are not sold in Walmart, all these big shoppers, Drugmart, London Drugs, and so on, because they put products on the shelf, and if you have questions, you hardly can find somebody. If you find somebody, he doesn't know anything, so he cannot answer your question, which means we sell to clinics. 95% of our customers are clinics.
Right. Okay.
Professional people that be trained properly, and they got all the information. And therefore, the Neem and these clinics, they have dispensaries that the consumer, when they are in the waiting room, never see. So therefore, Neem is really not the topic. But yoga, when yoga came, which is also part of Ayurveda, nobody didn't know what was it all about.
Right.
And look what happened now. You have yoga clinics all over the world.
That's right. Yeah. It's
And
huge.
the same thing I hope will happen with Neem.
Okay.
And that's my passion, because I tell people, usually you fall in love with a woman, but I also fall in love with a tree.
There you go. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think there's something about nature in general and trees that are very attracted to people. You know, like I go regularly for walks in Lynn Headwaters Park in North Van, and I look at the trees and I acknowledge the trees, and the trees. I've been studying a shamanic cosmology the last few years, and naturally, the idea of animism is something that's prevalent in shamanic practices and cosmology, where everything in nature has a spirit, and everything in nature has a soul, and you can have a relationship with these things. And so I practice that, and I think it's something that is not so common in our culture, but it's relevant, and it could be relevant more so too.
A native lady once told me we have huge trees, Douglas firs and so on, maple trees. She said, have you ever hugged a tree, especially when the wind is whistling up up there on top? And I said no, which I did. And I tell you, it goes down goosebumps your spine there, that you feel I'm nothing compared to this tree that might be several hundred years old. And I have a book here that I recommend to people that's called The Secret Life of Plants. A fascinating account of physical, emotional, and spiritual relations between plants and man.
Yeah.
And there's one comment here. Once in a while you find a book that sums up. Its scope leaves you breathless. This is such a book. And how trees and plants communicate with each other. The trees with the roots underneath.
Right.
And older trees look after the younger trees when the fire comes, when storm comes, when frost and so on. And even we have lots of plants in our log home there, and we talk to them. And people say, "Are you crazy?"
Maybe.
But they don't understand.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting. So have you been cultivating, a relationship with plants and trees all your life, you say?
Yes, because where I grew up, it was a small village of around 3,000 people in northern Germany, a farm, country style, and we were as boys always outside. Always, we have little forests there. We played there and so on.
Yeah.
And green, the color green has been my favorite color. That's why you see a lot of green in our products, even because green is like it's hope for hope, even for this Mother Earth, that eventually we can turn the things around.
Yeah, and it's life and
I couldn't be
abundance.
inside. I mean, I had to be always outside, year round.
Yeah. Whereabouts do you live now?
We live now in Mission for 31 years. We have acreage there and a custom-made log home. Unfortunately, through some health problems of my wife, we are downsizing. We sold our home, and we are now looking to relocate on the Sunshine Coast.
Okay.
Because people in our age, you need much more sunshine, vitamin D, it comes to the sunshine, and fresh ocean air.
Okay.
And then country style, I mean, Seychelles has around 10,000 population, Gibson's 4,000.
Very nice.
And we love these country style, the lay-back thing, like the red race that you have here in Vancouver and so on. When we came here, whether you believe it or not, I have some pictures there. There were close to 6 high-rises. The
Wow.
highest was the Vancouver Hotel.
Yeah,
And
there
look
you go.
now what happened
That's right. Yeah.
in the last.
It's become
42
the
years.
coral reef, the human hive.
And it's
Yeah.
the traffic is. It takes me 2 hours from Mission to Vancouver,
Yeah.
one way.
Yeah, right. It's,
And our company, of course, is in Vancouver that my oldest son runs. And I 4 years ago, I retired. I said, I'm not coming
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. Well, you get to a point, right? Like, I mean,
It's too much.
even for myself, like I do have, this plan that I don't want to live in a city my whole life.
No.
I don't feel that the energy of the city is sustainable. And ultimately, I same thing. I want acreage. I want space.
Yeah.
I want to see the sky. I want to get my hands in the earth. I want to garden and grow and have chickens.
Have your own garden, your own potatoes, your own vegetables, your own
Yeah. Yeah.
herbs and so on.
Yeah, I think there's something about that
Back to basics.
back to basics. I think it'll be very educational for me. I'd learn all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's easy, and I talk about this all the time with my my fiance, and like how it's easy to romanticize that because it's like, oh, it's we're imagining this thing, this dream, but it's actually a lot of work. Like
Yes.
you can't. I'm trying to, despite not having to experience it personally yet, not to be naive to how much work it is actually. Like you said, like now you guys need to downsize because it's too much. It gets to that will be too
Yes.
much, and then you go to
Yeah.
something a little more nurturing, I guess you could say.
And the interesting thing that my oldest son and his wife, she's from UK, also a country girl,
Yeah.
they bought property in Roberts Creek, which is just between Gibsons and Seashell,
Right.
which is basically a retirement property, and they asked us to be close to them. And I have been several times. It's nature pure,
Cool.
absolutely,
Very cool.
on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
As the name says, between 1,400 and 2,400 hours of sunshine. Now in the valley where we are, when you see the mountains, when you go to White Rock and you see the clouds moving into the valley, they open up at the mountains and we get
Lots of rain.
lots of rain.
Right.
Lots
Wow.
of rain.
Yeah. So get to that sunshine.
And we want more sunshine, yes.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that makes sense because, like, I know personally, even at my age, when it's sunny outside, and you see it all the time. When it's sunny out, everyone's happy
Yes.
and
Energized?
super energized.
Yeah.
And you don't get tired.
No.
Right now, this time of year, it's 4 o'clock. It's getting dark.
Yeah.
And so our bodies react to
Yes.
these cycles,
Mhm.
which is normal and natural because we live in this far north. But like you're right, when you're in the sun more, you get energy.
Yes.
And so I can
It's-
imagine that's very important to you as you go into your 80s.
Yeah.
You want to keep that energy up.
And I have so many things that I want still to achieve on the educational level
Cool.
that when my mother died when she was 93, I told her, Mom, I said, I want to be older than you. I want to be 100. And then her answer was, go for it.
Ah, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Very cool.
I think it's a chapter in life
Yeah.
where you have to do it and you cannot delay it.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Good for you. So you have your line in Ferlow Botanicals. And so you said that's available in clinics. Is it available online as well if people don't
Yes,
live in the area?
Yes, it's online available. We started last year.
Okay.
And so my son tells me that our business with online is steadily increasing
Yeah.
because we believe that, of course, you cannot satisfy everybody.
Right.
That's number one. But what the amazing thing is, when I get calls from people who tell us that they had severe skin problems, acne, eczema, psoriasis, scabies, rosacea, and nothing helped, even that they used some natural products, and they used our products, and the healing starts almost instantly, without changing their diet. I mean, still maybe smoking, maybe still using a lot of alcohol, and using junk food. That, to me, is amazing. Normally, you should do something. That's why we have a tincture there, a Neem tincture that you take internally.
Yep.
But there's a warning that I tell people. This tincture is so bitter
Oh yeah.
that when you take it, it might knock your socks off. because, and that's what your body needs. Your body does not need the refined poisonous sugar.
What's the tincture for? What can it help you with?
The tincture is basically, I would say, immune boosting.
Okay, immune boosting.
And also digesting if you have digesting problems.
Cool.
Or even if you don't have digesting problems. It just cleans things up there. Parasites. You know, most people don't realize that we all have these little critters there.
Mm-hmm.
When you see them with a magnifying glass, with the suction cups that they have,
Yeah.
it doesn't look really pretty.
Right.
But we all have them.
Mm-hmm.
And by using this tincture there, it's very effective.
Very cool.
Jumping,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. I know. I've been kind of just lightly dabbling into herbalism myself these days. I'm working with a mushroom tincture right now,
Yeah.
and it's been very good. Because I got really I have a newborn. I have a new son. He's 7 weeks old, and early on I got really sick around week 3, and it was really, really hard because you're already sleep deprived.
Yes.
It's challenging, like being an early parent, and then I got sick, and it was like I just didn't want to. I wanted to just do more things proactively to help my immune system, especially while I'm not sleeping well and not exercising as much as I'd like to, and still trying to do work.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe I need a little more support. And so I got this fungus one, this mushroom one, which had 5 different types of mushrooms in there. And so, I'm very interested in the tinctures now.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, that one sounds
And
really good.
I can tell you that I take most of our products on a regular basis, and people ask me, like in the lectures here, what's your secret? And I tell them, number 1, proper diet.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time when you eat.
Mm.
Exercise. Be positive. If people can't laugh about a joke, there's something wrong with them.
Right.
And have good friends, good neighbors, good customers, and always do things, put always 100% effort into it.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you feel proud what you achieved.
Awesome.
It's very simple.
Yeah. Yeah. But yet it's something that I think, it takes, one, people need to hear that and to like, okay, and then to practice it and create the habits.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with habit formation and breaking bad habits and then bringing in good habits, Do you have any suggestions or recommendations on how people, let's say they're in a bad habit, what would you say to someone that's maybe struggling with habits and habit formation?
Since I've never smoked in my entire life, and I'm not an alcoholic, I drink my glass of red wine for a warm meal. The willpower, quite often, the willpower is not there. The people, let's say, if they're a smoker there, or they use too much alcohol, they know that it's not good for them.
They do.
The body tells you. And that's when a Chinese doctor once told me that he said, the liver is a workhorse. Now, once you don't put the proper things into your system, you will see bad results. And people should really think twice, and hopefully when they have a partner there, quit together. Fortunately, a lot of people over the years have quit smoking because it's a bad habit. It costs a lot of money there, and it will damage your health long term. But it's so easy. They have craving for junk food is so strong that they can't change.
It's very hard.
For example, there was coffee there. There was even MSG, monosodium glutamate, in there. By the way, Dr. Blaylock, he is a medical neurosurgeon, retired. He wrote a book about monosodium glutamate, especially the name glutamate. Where he says this glutamate is in huge variety of products that you buy, and it is very dangerous.
Is it in there for preservation purposes, or is it in
preservation purposes? And it's a meat enhancer there. Like you eat more. It was put in coffee. You drink more coffee. The cups get bigger and bigger, and so it is really something that people. I mean, I always say this: health is not everything, but without health, everything is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
was a quote from one of my heroes, Dr. Bernard Jensen. He had a health farm in California for many years, and he was a junk food eater in his young years and almost was dying, and the doctor told him, go home and make your last will. And then he started study, and he became a naturopathic doctor and a clinical nutritionist, and lived till he was 93.
Wow. There you go.
And treated a lot of people in the meantime, and has written many books, I think around 45 books. 22 of his best books I bought myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 1,200 books about health, healing, herbs, and nutrition in my library.
Wow.
Because I write articles for
Yep.
Health and Women's Magazine around the globe.
Cool.
And for me, I put in, like people say, why do you do this? And I tell them, look, not everybody can buy books, does have the time to go in the library, check all the time on the internet, but these articles are an excerpt of the most important parts what in these different books,
Right.
so that you can learn and so on, and then you can make your own decision. And to me, I'm here to share.
Right. Cool. It's a great
And
service.
I don't charge for all the lectures I have done in almost over 20 years. Never charged anything.
Wow.
I tell people, give it to a good charity. I've been eight years on the board of the Health Action Network Society, which is the oldest, basically, organization for natural herbal remedies
Mm-hmm.
since 1989.
Why do you believe it's important for you not to charge for your for the
Because
knowledge and your experience and all that?
I'm not a very religious person. I believe that somebody up is there that gave us all these things, so why should I charge for it?
Okay. And you just want to share it.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool.
And when my mother said, thank you very much that these cream worked now for her arthritis, and I want to thank me, I said, no, thank somebody else. Somebody created this plant there.
Right. Right. Yeah. Something
And so
else.
I
yeah.
feel that that's not right to charge for it.
Cool. We'll have to start wrapping up, but I want to ask you a question that we commonly ask our guests on this show, and I'm very interested to hear your answer. If you could make a phone call in time back to the 20-year-old or the 25-year-old Klaus Ferlow, to yourself, if you could make a call back to yourself at the age of 20 to 30, what would you tell yourself? What kind of advice would you give to yourself?
I would still say that whatever you do in private life or in business, always have honesty, integrity, and fairness.
Honesty, integrity, and
And
fairness. Okay.
You can make friends with anybody, doesn't matter the color,
Yeah.
religion, as long as these people are honest and have integrity and work hard, pay their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no problem to make friends.
Right. Awesome. Great. And then one more question. If this is hypothetical, but let's say you had a magic wand and you could wave that wand and change anything right now that you wanted, change anything, what would you change?
I would change that people should look at themselves, at their health, and at their body, and make sure that when they get older, that they can enjoy life like I do, which means have proper nutrition, do exercise, don't become a couch potato, stay away from a lot of substances, even too much coffee is not good, as well as alcohol and smoking, and make friends, because friends are very important.
Community.
Community, because friendship develops over time. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right. Yep. Yep. And then I think applying your rules of business to that is
Yes.
being honest
Yeah.
with people, being integral, that you can, say what you mean and mean what you say, and just being fair and treating people well and, treating them
And
like
never,
they're you.
and never, the most important thing is never look at how much money can I make. Never. That first you perform. If you perform and you're in the right company, they will see that. They will promote you. Because people who only look for money, because money, first of all, does not buy happiness. You have to create it yourself, the happiness.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, Klaus, thank you. I think that's an awesome way to end it. I think it's really special to hear you share very passionately about what you're into, what you're interested in, what work you've done. There's a couple websites I'm going to share, obviously, with this episode. One is neemresearch.ca, and that way people can learn more about the neem tree and how maybe it can support them in their own health, or perhaps in their industry, or who knows. It seems like it's a pretty special tree. And so you recommended neemresearch.ca, and then also you have furlowbotanicals.com.
Yeah, if people
can check
really
out.
want to know more in detail, then the World Neem Organization.org.
Okay.
That is incredible, their website they have done, because there are 14 Neem researchers from basically Africa, Australia,
Yep.
Bangladesh, India, North America, Europe, and Middle East are involved. And there, when they go into that link there, they can learn so much more, because this tree is really the most incredible tree on Mother Earth.
Fantastic. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very, very much for this very informative podcast. We really appreciate it. And we'll make sure that, if people are more curious, they go and check out your sites and maybe shoot you an email, ask you questions. Why not?
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Whoever you are and wherever you are in space and time, we really appreciate you sticking around for this podcast. And so, as per always, if you enjoy this piece of content and anything else we produce here, if you want to give us a rating or review on iTunes, it really helps. Just kind of bump us up in any sort of rankings. To be honest, I have no idea where we're ranked, but I hear other podcasters say, give us a rating and review. So it can't hurt, and it costs nothing. So we would really appreciate it if you can go give us a review or a rating. And I think you can do that on the, and at least in iTunes, on the podcasting app. You can literally review it or rate it right there now. So that's pretty huge. So it's super easy. It's literally like in your fingertips right now. So again, thanks for joining us. mindfulmass.org, floathouse.ca, and the Vancouver Real community, vancouverreal.tv. Come and check us out, join us, and then see whatever we got going on, and whenever you are listening to this, because things change all the time. So until next time, thanks for listening, and to whatever is.